Hey everybody, welcome back to the Success Secrets Revealed live stream show with your host Ronald Couming. Today we have a great guest with us, Jessica Coulthard, and she is a Just Girl Like Me coaching, and it's a Canadian Boston thing. We've been sitting here with some joking back and forth. So I just wanted to tell you before I give you her full bio, I just want to let you know a little bit about the show, how the show came about, and then how our sponsor and then her. First, the show came about because I have a radio show and 1.7 million weekly listeners roughly, but because of COVID, they're not manning the station anymore, not live. So they're running reruns, which is fine. I mean, they're all quality guests that I've had over the last 4 years, but I wanted to continue to bring on subject matter experts, but like with what's going on in the world today, because, you know, obviously the world's changed with COVID, right? And, you know, what worked back then may or may not work now in certain endeavors. So I wanted to continue. So I pivoted a little. I'm doing the live. I will take the audio out and I will send it over to the station and they'll put it in rotation wherever they can somewhere down the line. So all my radio listeners, you're going to get to listen to everything too, but you're certainly welcome to listen to us live here, and it'll all be all over YouTube and all the social media platforms. I'd like to let you know that this is a free offering for all of us. No guest pays to come on the show. No guest is paid to be on the show, and I'm not paid to be on the show. But there are expenses, and we have one sponsor, and that's RCS Online Solutions, my company, and we basically help business owners and entrepreneurs attract, convert, and retain their ideal customers and clients. At the end of the day, you have services. You know, you're able to help people or businesses have a better life or be more effective and more efficient, but they can't consider you, and they certainly can't hire you if they can't find you. So what we do is we get you ranked on the search engines, the first page, for your products, services, and solutions. No one's searching for you by name. If they are, they're calling you because they know you. When somebody is going to the search engines, they're searching for a solution, and that's what you need to come up for. You need to come up for the product, service, or solution that you provide. And that's what we do at RCS Online Solutions. And usually we get people ranked before we even charge them a penny, so there's virtually no risk on your part. So if you want to contact me, if you want to attract more customers and clients, serve more people, and ultimately make more money and a bigger difference in the world, feel free to contact me at ron@rcsonlinesolutions.com, and I and my team will help you out right away. But all those calls and all those emails come right to me, so I don't pawn anybody off. So now the great stuff. Now we have Jessica, and she is a strategic interventionist who works with people to understand their driving needs, core values, and motivation preferences to facilitate rapid change. She is the founder of the Woman Who Inspired Conference 2019, founder and host of Ignite Entrepreneur podcast. She uses NLP techniques to dig deep into the unconscious for her clients. Ooh, that sounds great. Jessica, welcome. Here's the clap track. How are you doing?
Can I clap too?
Yes.
I'm doing great. Yay! I'll clap for myself anytime.
Yeah, why not? And how are you doing today? You're calling from Canada, right? Or
I am so, yeah, near about 20 minutes outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
Now, you know, I'm from Boston, so you can blame that for me on that, okay? But is that like to New York, or are you like on the west coast of Canada?
West Coast. We're just up from California.
Oh, so you must be suffering from the fires and everything, right?
Yeah, we've got a lot of smoke coming up here. Our air quality is awful. I think worst in the world right now is what I'm hearing, based on the fires that are going on just south of us. So.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, I'm seeing pictures of like, it looks like, you know, the people are at like the beach and stuff, and, you know, you can't even really see the sky anymore. It's just, it's terrible. I can only imagine what the air quality is.
Yeah.
So that's terrible. You gotta, you know, at the end of the day, we need our health, you know, because you can have all the money, you can have everything, but, you know, look at Steve Jobs. He had like $9 billion, but he died in his 40s, right? You know, he probably would have gave up all that money just for another year of life, you know. So, but enough of that. Tell us, tell us a little bit more about you, how you started. I mean, what I like to do on this show is we've got most of our guests are business owners, entrepreneurs, or people who might actually be W-2s working in a some type of marketing capacity or salesperson capacity, and but ultimately they know that, you know, their future, their real success will come for working for themselves. So, you know, but a lot of times people are nervous about making that jump. And when they do make that jump, there's mistakes along the way. And so if they can listen to people who've already been there and done that, you know, it kind of can cut down that learning curve and help them accelerate to their success quicker without hitting all those pitfalls. So if you can tell us a little bit about your journey and then bring us up to what you're doing now, I would love that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I can tell you to the day when things changed for me. So it was December 31st, 2015. I've shared this story many times, you know, because when you know, right? Like when you have that aha moment, I mean, it sticks with you and you're not the same afterwards. So luckily for me, it was a very specific day. I was sitting at home and I was working through my New Year's resolution list and realizing that it was the same list as the year before and the year before and the year before, and that nothing was changing. And so I had that moment of like, what is going on? Like, what do I need to do to actually create change? Right? I mean, wanting something is so different than actually doing something to get it. And so luckily I stumbled onto an incredible book, Jack Canfield's Success Principles. And the very first principle, yeah, oh my goodness. If any of your listeners have not read this book, I highly recommend it. But basically, the very first principle is take 100% responsibility for your life. And that was my aha. That was what I realized that I had not been doing. You know, most of us live our lives looking for everybody else to blame for why our life sucks or why we aren't where we want to be. But really what we need to do is we can only control what we do. And so that was the missing piece for me. And everything has changed since then. And I've been reading a lot of books. You know, I've always been into personal development and self-awareness, but I also believe that when you're ready to hear the message, then that's when you'll get it, right? So that was the moment, I guess, that I was ready to finally hear the message. And so from there, I just started to invest in myself. I threw myself out there. I realized that if I didn't know this stuff, that most of my friends and family probably didn't know either. So first thing I did was I just jumped out there and I started running workshops and, you know, goal setting classes and just trying to, you know, help all my friends and family. And that just led me to creating my own website, blogging, starting to share stories, which eventually led me to wanting to become a coach, actually get my certification, which I did. And that's why I'm now a strategic interventionist, because I did my coaching through the Tony Robbins Core 100, strategic intervention, blah, blah, blah. But it taught me such incredible skills. So I highly recommend anybody that does want to get into coaching. I know they say that certification isn't required, but what you learn, and you get coached through the process, right? Like you get the actual benefit of being coached when you take a course like that. And so that was transformational all in itself. And then a couple years later, I followed that up and I did the NLP, which, wow, like mind blowing. I don't know, Ronald, if you're familiar or if you've done any NLP.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I speak
so
on
you know
the country, so I had to learn, you know what I mean? Anchor it, and you know what I mean? And you know, all the good stuff over here, all the bad stuff over here, and it just so happens to be where your sign-up forms are over here, and all the negative stuff we anchor to that side of the room. And
right. Yeah. And it's like, again, it was like I went through this incredible breakthrough and you just don't see the world the same anymore. It's like you take off a pair of glasses that were never meant for you, and the world just becomes so much more clear when you go through that kind of stuff. And so since then, I've just been throwing myself out there. And like you said in the introduction, I hosted and was co-founder and co-host for this incredible women's conference that we pulled together. And it was just an inspiration that I leapt at, and it turned into an incredible opportunity. And then again, same thing, the beginning of this year, I got inspired and I leapt and into the podcasting world. And, just like, it's like everything just kind of gets out of your way when you start to do the work and really see what things are and what they aren't, right?
Yeah, I love it. And you're speaking my language too. First, I love that, but you're so honest and it's so real, because when you said, when you're ready, because you can hear the same message multiple times and you can hear the same people talk multiple times, but it just doesn't resonate. It doesn't sink in the same way. And then all of a sudden you have that aha moment. I call it like the epiphany. You just have that epiphany. And, it's sometimes like in the funnels and the marketing, it's the epiphany bridge. It's when you realize it, not when you're told it. And Jack Canfield, he's yet to be a guest on my show, but Mark Victor Hansen, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul with Jack Canfield, his wife, they've been on my show. They're great people, amazing people. And it just the way they think, like you said, when you start to surround yourself, and Les Brown, he talks about OQP, only quality people. So when you start to surround yourself with people like you're talking about, you went to a Tony Robbins event, you read these books. So even though maybe you weren't physically with Jack Canfield, you surrounded yourself with his ideology, with his mindset, and then the other people, and it changes you as a person, but for the better. And so when you're ready, you're ready. You spoke about so many different things that I wanted to speak on, but you covered a lot. But good for you, because how many people just don't take that leap, and it's scary. And some people might have kids and mortgages and rents, and so they have obligations, and that holds them down too. And it's just got to like really tear at your soul, because you're not living your purpose. You're not living what you're meant up to your full potential. And not to harp on Les Brown, but he also, I remember one time he was talking about, he was at an event and there was this woman who came up to him, and she was like 78, and she wanted to write a book, and she wanted to get some stuff done before she died. And she had mentioned to him that, I've been putting this off, and I'm not sure how, but now I know after listening to you, I can get it done. And she said, my biggest fear is dying with this still inside of me and not getting it done. That's my biggest regret. So
I feel that.
But you've lived it, man. I love it. And you just jumped and leaped. But when you did jump and you did leap, and obviously at this point it's worked out for you, but initially there had to have been a lot of fear, trepidation, naysayers. Like you ask, I like to tell people, you don't ask your broke brother-in-law for financial advice, right? So when you tell people you want to, whatever you were doing in that year, and you decided that I got to change, and you went out, I'm sure there was people who were telling you it's never going to work, you're wasting your time, your money, you got a good job, it's stable, so that, that brings you down. But so how did you withstand that and then go on to continue forward into the path that you've chosen?
Well, I like what you said about you don't ask your broke brother-in-law for financial advice, right? So like you were saying about surrounding yourself with the right people, I've been so blessed. I've had so many opportunities to put myself into the right circles and be around like-minded people, that the people that kind of were those negative voices, I guess I was able to dismiss, because they weren't, as to quote Brene Brown, they weren't in the arena with me, right? So they didn't get a vote. They didn't get to have a say, right? So, and as you get closer, so earlier when you were introducing me, you were talking about, about like human needs and core values. So a lot of the work that I've done for myself through my coaching training, but then also with my clients, is we uncover people's top human needs, and mine is growth. And so for me, I'm in physical pain if I can't be moving forward, because it is what drives me. So it's because of that, I'm lucky, because it's so deep in me that if I can't be growing, I feel like I'm dying, right? And so that's allowed me to really push forward and kind of not worry so much about what those people think, but also with an understanding that if growth is not their top need, they don't even get me. So I don't need them to get me. I just need them to get out of my way, right? That's basically what it comes down to.
Wow, I love it. And I was just watching a Russell Brunson, Tony Robbins, and another gentleman, Dean Graziosi.
Dean Graziosi, yeah.
Yeah, they were just doing a challenge, a build your brand, and I always listen to what. Okay, so you remember the lady who was telling you, you have your 7 group here and you have your group here. So when you just spoke about they don't even get a vote, they're not in this with me, I was thinking about that how she broke it down. I was like, wow, I just listened to somebody talking exactly that. So I love it, man. We're speaking the same language.
Yeah, but I also understand for some people that, you don't just snap your fingers and forget about the important people in your life, and that they have had a say all the way through. So sure, it's easy for me to say because I've gotten to that place in my mindset, right? But for somebody like you say, who is maybe just starting out on that journey, that's not so easy. It's like saying, just get over it, right? It doesn't work that way. So what I like to do is, doing those self-awareness exercises. So anything that you can get your hands on, anybody who's offering something, whether it's myself or whether yourself, Ronald, like whatever it is, that if there's a way for you to learn more about yourself so that you're not swimming upstream, you're learning to work with your strengths and what your North Star is, and then learning how to use that to help you rather than trying to just flounder through and not know why you do what you do. So I just strongly recommend people get as much self-awareness, take every personality test, everything you can get your hands on to know who you are at your core, so you know what your strengths are, so you can move forward using them instead of fighting against it.
I love it. And yeah, play into your strengths and find out also what your weaknesses are. So you're not so much, you understand them, and that comes, I guess, with the self-awareness, but find out what those weaknesses are, and then, delegate those out if it comes to like business. But I remember back in the day, I was younger at the time, I was on a powerlifting team, and they would tell us you're only as strong as your weakest link. So if you do have some things that you're, that are holding you back, you got to find out what your strengths are, but also find out what your weaknesses are, because those need to be addressed too. And if you just skip right over those, you may not, fully move into your wholeness. So, so I love it. And one thing I really think is helpful is for people to find a coach, much like yourself, or especially, you're just laying it out. You're speaking my language. And I have so many people who tell me, Ron, how can you not be, and why are you just keep going and going, and you're not seeing this as a win, you're not that. I'm like, but you just said it, if I'm not moving forward, if I'm not seeing growth, if I'm not feeling like I'm contributing and I'm giving back and I'm serving, or all these different things, I'm physically, I'm in pain, and it's like, you verbalized it. And now I'll be able to verbalize, because I couldn't get them to get me. And you're right. Some people, you can't just cut everybody out of your life, but the impact, the influence that you allow them to have on what you do, where you go, how you do it, those things can be lessened or cut out. But, you certainly, I have brothers and sisters who aren't on the same track I'm on. I don't cut them out of my life. They're just not on this track with me. And when I go to family events, we talk about whatever is appropriate for that time, because if I bring this stuff up, they can't relate, and then it starts to create, you know what I mean? And
I always say, consider the source.
Yeah, I love it. And,
right?
and
wherever you are and wherever you just be appropriate, right? So I have friends that are just friends, and we go and we hang out and we hike and we have a good time. I don't talk business with those people. There's no point. Right. But then when you meet somebody that does, I met a lady who was on my podcast, and turns out that she lived 20 minutes away from me. So we decided to go for a walk, and it was awesome. It was just, we were bouncing stuff off each other because we were like-minded. But you can't expect that from somebody who's not in that same field. So just don't expect it. Just lower your expectations, right?
Let them be who they are. Lower your expectations. Accept them for who they are.
Yeah, totally.
People heard us say that. They say we were acting elitist or uppity, but I agree with you. You otherwise it'll just bring you down. You know what I mean? Because you're not you gotta, if you take like the 5 people you spend the most time with, that's where you're gonna probably end up. So many people have said this, but that's like where you take the 5 people that you spend the most time with, and it doesn't necessarily mean like family members or wife or husband, or because they're in your life. It's the people that you choose, like we're talking about. So those are the 5 people, and your income and your lifestyle will be like within a couple of $1,000s of them, because like you said, with that lady you were walking with, you're so like-minded, you know what I mean? So when you align yourself with people like that, there's a path you're going to be on just naturally. And I love it. And I want to go back. I'm going to listen to this episode again, because you paraphrase things.
There's another thing that I heard not that long ago, and I would love to be able to say who said it because it's brilliant, but you have to be the gatekeeper of your mind. You have to be the one that decides what gets in there and what doesn't. And so, like you said, that's books, that's YouTube videos, that's podcasts, that's the physical people, but we decide who gets in there, right? And the minute you start to do that, the more you have control over whether you choose to hear the negative or the positive.
I love it. And you're right. What you put in, you know what I mean? So if you're listening to a lot of negative videos or rap, or you're spending 5 hours a day on Netflix or something, it takes away from the whole, but it also, brings a lot of negativity and crap. That's why I'm trying my best, like just to stick to Facebook for business related stuff. But every now and then I see a post and I'm like, oh my God, they didn't just really say that, right? I'm like, and then I get like, are you for real? You know what I mean? And then I end up getting blocked or something. You know what I mean? Are you for real? How could you possibly think that that's acceptable behavior? How could that?
Okay, let me tell you something about that person though. So back to these human needs, when I see somebody like that, I come at it now with a better understanding. That person probably has a very high need for what we call love and attention. So what's happening for them is that is their way to get attention. So like you feel this physical pain when you're not growing, they're the same. They feel this physical pain when they're not getting some kind of attention and love. And this is the only way they know how to do it, is to surround people that are going to feel sorry for them.
Nice. All right, cool. Good. And again, it comes down to protecting yourself, protecting your mind, right? Not letting certain things come in. And when you do see that, you ultimately have control over how you allow it to affect you, if at all. So I love how you started about personal responsibility when you read Jack Canfield's book. For me, that's the bottom line. You know what I mean? We've all, Jim Rohn talks about, we've all had pretty much the same things happen to us over the course of our lives, some different places, different people, different circumstances, but the feelings that were caused were very similar, you know what I mean? And so it's what you do with that. You can take that and you can live in a victim's mentality, and it's not my fault, it's society's fault. I was born here, I was done, or you can use that to enable you to go forward. So it's I love when it's about personal responsibility. At the end of the day, 100%. We're ultimately responsible for what we do, say, and behave. No matter what happens externally, how you respond to it is your thing.
Yes.
So tell us more. I mean, I tell us more. I love the this women's group that you started in 2019. That sounded like you guys had a great day. How did that come about? I think you said you just saw a post on Instagram and it led to this. But how did it start? What did it lead to? And what has come from it? I mean, are you going to do a 2020?
Okay, yeah. So the post that I saw on Instagram was by Grant Cardone, and anybody who follows Grant Cardone might know this post. I don't know. It was obviously probably almost 2 years ago now, but it was one of those posts where it has like a picture at the top and then a picture at the bottom. And the top picture was him on stage, and the camera angle was from behind, looking out at the crowd, and it was probably about 1,000 people. So he was on stage in front of 1,000 people, and it said 2017. And then down below was another picture And now it's him, same angle, him on stage from behind, looking out to the crowd. But now he's in a stadium. We're looking at 20, 30, 50,000 people. And it said 2019. And my first instinct was, shit, I better start now. And I did. That was it. That was the words that came to me, is I better start now. And I just instantly, I decided that I was going to put together this women's conference. I was going to bring together a bunch of amazing women that I had in my life that I knew had gone through a lot of pretty horrific things in their lives, but had managed to come out of it and were now really succeeding in their lives. And so that's what I ended up doing. Luckily, I had these people kind of already in mind. And I reached out to another lady that I didn't know that well and asked her if she wanted to be a speaker. And through our conversation, we realized that she would actually be better to be on board with me. And so we decided to team up, and she became the co-host, co-founder with me, and we developed it. And so that was in, I want to say, February of 2019. And then we actually had the full day event in person on October 20th, 2019. And we had 9 amazing speakers. We had vendors. We had a lot of sponsors that came forward and provided a lot of gifts for our guests. And we had music, and we just really lit up the room. It was just incredible. And one of the ladies, so I want to make sure that I let people know. So my co-founder, her name is Autumn Rock. Look her up. She's incredible. So to your point, what we decided to do was, putting together an event like that is a lot of work for a one-day event. And so I've kind of decided that it was no longer really part of my personal business model, but it was really something that she felt strongly about. I truly believe that the reason she was brought into my life was to take this and run with it and make it so much bigger and better than anything that I could have ever dreamt of. So she did, actually. We did March 1st. She hosted another Women Who Inspire event in an area here called Vancouver Island. And it was amazing. And she's going to plan to do another one again once we're allowed to do those kind of events. But the ladies that came on stage, we had one lady who had never even told her story before. I didn't even know what I was asking of her when I asked her. And what it allowed her to do was to finally share some of the stuff that had gone on with her, which was pretty crazy. Like, I don't want to share her story for her, but she hadn't told her kids, she hadn't told her mom, like all of this stuff that she'd been buried for so many years. This stage finally allowed her to come clean and to actually purge some of that. And I mean, she's just, where she's gone now from being able to do that is just amazing. So it was such a blessing to be able to be a part of that. And so then for me, once I decided to let go of the conference, I realized that the podcast was allowing me to do that on a smaller scale, from just 1-to-1. But actually what it does is it's more global. Like, I've interviewed people from all over the world. It's in the community. It actually was like almost a transition to where I'm probably supposed to be. And it just gave me that opportunity to just see the power of sharing people's stories.
I love it. And and you're right. It opens up because you can interview people from all over the place. And it's funny you say that about 2019, because that was probably the 10X conference in Miami. And I love Grant. I follow Grant Cardone. I listen to him every day. I got Cardone University, so I listen to that. Plus all his tapes. I love Elena. But the funny thing is, right, the first 3 or 4 rows were Diamond, and right behind that was Premier, and I was in the first row of Premier, so I was right behind. So when you saw him standing there in 2020, you may not, I don't know. Yeah, I was in the 5th row, so I don't know exactly. Yeah, I don't know exactly what view you had, but I was center stage, 1 seat in. I was 1 seat in from the center stage. Yeah. It was cool because we got to pick our seats, right? In what was ever was available, what was left. And that was so cool. So you've seen me before and didn't even realize.
We were destined.
Exactly. I might have just been a blur in a speck. But and there's a great story. He talked about how that was Super Bowl weekend, and the Patriots from Boston were playing in Atlanta, and people told him, you're crazy, right? But there was 2 reasons he did that on Super Bowl weekend. One is basically because everybody told him he was crazy and he couldn't do it, so he took it as a challenge. But the other thing was nobody else was doing events. So that meant 2 things. One, he didn't have competition for that day. And 2, the venues, nobody was using them. So the rate, the cost, he could negotiate way down because it's dead space. You're going to give it to me or you're getting nothing. So it's all about that opportunity. So he saw it as the naysayers. He didn't let them get to him. Then he said, well, wait a minute. If everybody believes that, then that means there's an opportunity here for me because nobody else is running an event that weekend. And he literally, there was 35,000, 32 to 35. That's no exaggeration. I was there. All those now, the first hour or so, hour and a half, people were coming in, and he jumped out of a plane and came in. I mean, it was insane. Yeah, he jumped out of a plane and came in a parachute into the stadium. They opened up the thing, right? And it was an amazing show. But so there were times where people were still filing in, but I was there, and even way up in the third rafters, those were pretty much full. I mean, that whatever that stadium is, I tell you, there was at least 90% capacity, right? From the stage forward, the back of the stage, those seats were blank because nobody could see, right? But he fixed that when he went to the next one in Las Vegas. He got like a round one. So no matter where you were, but there was only like 12 or 13,000 seats in that one. But which meant we got less deals because, when you're trying to fill a big stadium, you can be like, yeah, well, is that seat going to be empty, or you're going to give it to me for $4,000 instead of $5,000? My credit card's kind of heavy here, And so I got the $5,000 seat for like $3,200, right? And Cardone you for a year, and they threw this in and they threw that in. But great guy. I listen to Grant all the time, and he's just so real. And some people think he's abrasive, but that's because he's just straight up and real. And you're right. He is abrasive, and that's part of his charm, But what you've done and what you've accomplished is amazing. And you've seen the opportunities just like he did with that weekend, and you've seized them. And then you also
I love my story even more now.
Yeah, well, it's great, but I like it too. And I like how you saw that even though it was a great success and it helped a lot of people, it wasn't 100% fit for you. And you didn't try to make it a fit. You didn't try to force it. You accepted that, probably gave it to, what was it, Autumn Box?
Yep, Autumn Rock.
Yeah, I was going to say Spring Rock, or, you know what I mean? Get it? Boston humor. Can't take a Boston guy anywhere. But anyhow, so but you let her run with it because that was more her venue, and it served her to serve others. So you saw it and you had the success, and you could have just forced it, but you didn't. And then you found something that still would allow you to connect and help people share on a smaller scale, so you could still do whatever else you do. So I love how you just saw your strengths, saw your weaknesses, accepted them, and just played to your strengths and let go instead of trying to force it.
Yep.
So
I mean, I don't know. I'm really about letting, I believe in intentions, and I believe in the universe bringing you what you want when you decide that you want it. And I believe that it surprises you sometimes. Like even the podcast was not something I set out to do. Right. January, I actually was looking to pivot my coaching business towards entrepreneurs. And so I figured, to quote the great Tony Robbins, success leaves clues. Right. So I thought, well, I'm going to go interview successful entrepreneurs, find out what made them successful, and then backwards engineer that to create, fill that gap for, sort of newbie entrepreneurs. And what happened was when I put that out to Facebook to say, hey, who wants to chat with me and share all those secrets? People were like, well, yeah, but what's this for? And I said, well, I don't know yet. And they said, well, is it for a podcast? It took me about 30 seconds to say, yeah, you know what? I think it is. And that's where the podcast came from. So, I don't really plan things like that anymore. I kind of let them come to me. So I don't know what the universe has got for me next. I'm waiting to find out too.
Nice. I love it. But we got a free gift here, so people can you tell us a little bit about this when people go to this?
Well, this is my my podcast. So if you go to the podcast, you are going to get a chance to meet. I think I have 57 amazing people that I've interviewed since January, and it is riddled with free gifts. Like there are people on there that have the most amazing, just coaching and programs, whether it's sales that you need, or marketing, or mindset, or money, or whatever it is. There's something for everybody there, and almost every single one has a free gift for you. So highly recommend going and just checking that out.
Yeah, I'm gonna go listen to your show too. I mean, one, I like free gifts, but I wanna listen to it. You know, what I mean, I've been interviewing a lot of people, but I know the value, and you just sit there and you listen, and then you ask some questions off of what they say. But listening and learning from people who have already been there and done that is such a gift. You know what I mean? And so we get to facilitate it for others, but it also helps us as individuals. You know what I mean? I know it helps me to hear you. You've helped me, and I've had 3 interviews today, and each one of you. But it keeps me, because then when I close this out, I'm back into this world, and you know what I mean. So this is, this COVID is kind of like changed how we interact with the world. So for me, this was a way of giving back, but it was also a way of fulfilling some of my own need to be around with like-minded people that don't live here.
Exactly. You're increasing your circle of influence through your show, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then Facebook, I reach out and I talk to people on Messenger and stuff. But all right, so you don't know what's next for you, but we do know that people can listen to your episodes, and we got about 3 to 5 minutes left. Is there anything you'd like to say to people in closing?
Let's see. I think, one of the things that I've been really looking into lately is just making that decision. Like I was saying, with both my conference and the podcast, is, I think people, if they just start to listen to when they have those inspired feelings about what they want to do, like that is whatever it is that you believe in, whether it's like a universe or God or whatever it is, that you're being spoken to. Right? And you need to honor those feelings. And there's a reason that you were supposed to listen, that you're supposed to listen to that message and do something with it. That message is for you. You're supposed to listen. And if you still have fear, then reach out to somebody, but do it when that feeling hits. Don't let it go. Like Mel Robbins talks about the 5-second rule. Like, this is real stuff. This is when you're feeling that feeling, that's when you're in the best position to make the decision. And just in that second, like if you do nothing else in that moment, but just say yes and take one step towards it, trust me, you'll reap the rewards. It's really powerful, but you need to listen and then be brave enough to take even just that one single step forward. That would be my best message for people.
I love it. And a lot of people, like Greg Reed and the gentleman Mel you listen to, I took some notes too, but they talk about action. When you hear these things and you get those feelings, and I love the 5-second rule. I mean, that's like you don't have a chance to backtrack. You don't have a chance to fall into, to let your negative, well, it won't work for me, or whatever the tapes are that have kept you down all the time. Yep. That 5-second rule eliminates that, because it just negates them from even coming in. So that's a great idea. And but it's all about the action.
Yeah. Another thing I want to say is, if you're a Tony Robbins fan at all, you've probably heard him talk about burning the boats. And so that's that one step forward. What I always do with that is, when I make a decision to other people, right? So like when I decided to move forward with this conference after seeing that Grant Cardone thing, I posted on Facebook, that I was hosting this conference. I made it so that I couldn't turn around. I couldn't change my mind. So do something like that burns the boats, that makes a decision, solidifies it, and then just after that, whatever, you figure it out after that. But do something that kind of forces your own hand in those, first 5 seconds or whatever.
I love it. Hey, this has been a great interview. I'm going to go back and listen to this. I highly recommend my listeners and viewers listen to this, but I'm going to go back and listen to it. Thank you so much, Jessica. You've been a great guest, and I don't know if I'm a fit, but I'd love to be on your podcast just to continue the flow of feedback with you. And
Yes.
I love it, man. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
You too. You have a great day now. Thank you.
Thanks.